Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ 2 is officially happening, and if the latest updates are any indication, it's shaping up to be even more controversial than the first. Given how much the original The Passion of the Christ resonated with audiences, especially among American evangelicals, it's no surprise that Gibson has been considering a sequel for years. Now, it looks like he's finally ready to move forward, but not without some major changes. Back in 2004, The Passion of the Christ took the world by storm. While primarily inspired by the Gospel of John, it also wove in elements from Catholic traditions and the visions of Anne Catherine Emmerich, an 18th century German mystic. The film became a global phenomenon, performing exceptionally well in international markets, but it also stirred up significant controversy, particularly accusations of anti-Semitism, which weren't helped by Gibson's own personal scandals. Despite the criticism, it remains one of Hollywood's most significant biblical epics, making a sequel an intriguing, if risky, endeavor. Since the first film's release, Gibson has openly discussed the idea of a follow-up. Given Hollywood's current obsession with franchises, it makes sense for him to revisit The Passion of the Christ and attempt to turn it into a multi-film saga. However, pulling off another success will be no easy feat, especially when trying to recapture the evangelical audience that embraced the original so passionately. For years, rumors swirled about potential production start dates, only for them to fall through. But now, Gibson himself has confirmed that the project is moving forward, with filming likely to begin in 2026. In a recent interview, he described the sequel as an acid trip and suggested it would explore themes and concepts unlike anything audiences have seen before. He even hinted at delving into the fall of the angels and depicting realms beyond our world, including hell and Sheol, the biblical underworld. That's a bold vision, one that could make this sequel even more controversial than its predecessor. But perhaps the biggest bombshell Gibson dropped was regarding the film's casting, specifically that Jim Caviezel, who portrayed Jesus in the original, will not be returning. For years, Caviezel's return seemed like a sure thing. He even confirmed back in 2020 that his script had been completed and claimed the sequel would be the biggest film in world history. However, Gibson recently revealed that Caviezel is out mainly due to the challenge of digitally de-aging him. Considering it's been 2 decades since the first film, making him look the same without CGI trickery would be tough and, according to Gibson, too expensive. With Caviezel gone, the search for a new Jesus is on. This also raises questions about the rest of the cast. Maya Morgenstern, who played Mary, was reportedly set to return, along with Francesco DeVito as Peter and Christo Givkov as John. But with the decision to recast Jesus, those earlier reports are now uncertain. While the plot details are still under wraps, one of the biggest rumors is that the film will focus on the 3 days between Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection. This means it could explore what many Christians believe happened during that time, Jesus' descent into hell, also known as the harrowing of hell. If this is true, the sequel is likely to take a very different approach from the first film. The Passion of the Christ was grounded in the physical suffering of Jesus, but this follow-up could venture into more abstract, spiritual, and even supernatural territory. Gibson has already hinted at this, suggesting that to tell the story properly, the film would need to explore the fall of the angels and other otherworldly elements. Given how much The Passion of the Christ took creative liberties with biblical narratives, it's not hard to imagine the sequel doing the same. While some religious scholars and audiences may appreciate this approach, others might see it as straying too far from Scripture. Either way, it's clear that The Passion 2 will be anything but a straightforward retelling of Jesus' resurrection. One of the biggest questions surrounding this sequel is whether Gibson can recreate the cultural impact of the first film. The Passion of the Christ was a unique phenomenon, benefiting from word-of-mouth marketing among religious groups and controversy that only fueled interest. In today's media landscape, where biblical epics are rare and audience expectations have shifted, achieving the same level of success will be a challenge. Gibson himself acknowledges this, admitting that the project is super ambitious and that he's still figuring out the best way to tell the story. I've been thinking about it for a long time, he said. It's not going to be easy, and it's going to require a lot of planning. I'm not wholly sure I can pull it off. To tell you the truth, that kind of honesty is rare in Hollywood, but it also speaks to the scale of what he's attempting. If The Passion of the Christ 2 does make it to the big screen, it will either be a groundbreaking and thought-provoking film or a polarizing misfire. Either way, it's sure to get people talking. With a potential 2026 production start, it will still be a while before we see how this all plays out. But one thing is certain. Whether it lives up to the original or not, The Passion of the Christ 2 is bound to make headlines. After years of speculation, Gibson has finally opened up about the film, revealing just how far he plans to take this story. Co-writing with his brother, Donald Gibson, and Randall Wallace, he described the film as an acid trip and emphasized the sheer scale of what they're trying to accomplish. Rather than just focusing on the resurrection itself, the movie will trace events from the fall of the angels all the way to the death of the last apostle. That means the story won't just be grounded in the physical world, it will delve into entirely different realms, including hell and Sheol. With plans to start filming in 2026, Gibson is aiming high, but he's also aware of the challenge ahead, admitting that he's not entirely sure he can pull it off. One of the biggest surprises, though, is that Jim Caviezel won't be returning as Jesus. Gibson confirmed that de-aging him with CGI would be too costly, so he's looking for a younger actor to take on the role. This decision raises questions about other returning cast members, including Maya Morgenstern as Mary and Francesco DeVito as Peter. While the title The Resurrection of the Christ hints at the film's main focus, it's clear that Gibson is thinking on a much grander scale than just a simple retelling of biblical events. The original Passion of the Christ was a massive success, both financially and culturally, but it was also controversial, particularly due to its intense violence and accusations of anti-Semitism. And that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to Soul Survivor for more updates on upcoming films, historical deep dives, and thought-provoking content. If you have any suggestions for future videos, drop them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and share, and as always, stay curious, stay informed, and stay tuned for more.